This episode of the Fight Within podcast is presented to you by Meguiar's. For over 115 years, Meguiar's has been carefully creating and producing advanced formulas with cutting-edge chemistry to deliver a show car perfect appearance. Whether you're showing on the fairway, finalizing your car for auction, or simply getting your beloved car ready for a weekend drive, Meguiar's is ready to help with their premium car care products to make every automotive surface look its absolute best. Meguiar's, reflect your passion. Make sure to visit them at meguiars.com.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. Today's guest is serial entrepreneur Mark Suh. He is the current CEO and co-founder of
Everwell.
I butchered it. We're not going to redo it, though. Everwell Medical.
That works.
Nice. I didn't mess it up. Kind of. But thanks for being here, man.
Yeah,
I know.
thanks for
We're just
having me.
talking about it. And you're like, you've never messed it up.
I jinxed you.
I just messed it up. But no, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate your time. And tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Gosh, that's a pretty general statement.
I know.
Just got to figure how far back to go. Well, I was actually kind of forced into, being self-employed. I don't think being employed was good for me. Was for me, Yeah. So somewhere along the lines, I think I've been self-employed for like 10, 12 years now. I've had multiple businesses, and this is probably the business that I'm actually passionate about. I've done a lot of things. Like I was in mortgages. I had a residential appraisal company. Cash for gold companies, when that was big, right? I had like 12 of those stores.
Nice.
So
so
many different things. Yeah,
You've done a lot.
Yeah.
See, this is why I love this like interaction and conversation platform, because Manny was like asking me like about you, because we try to, everyone that we interview, like we were just talking about, we try to at least find something about them, read about them, research them, see what they're doing. And I was like, I really don't know him that well. I mean, I've talked to him a couple times.
Right.
I talked to you because of your current business, and other than that, I was like, that's a great question. I don't know, and so I love hearing like how people got to where they're at. So sorry, I cut you off. But
No, that's great. No, I mean, honestly, I was a horrible student, So when I graduated, I basically would try to find the fastest way to get out of my parents' house and get a job. And somebody told me like being an X-ray technician was a good job, because I actually saw somebody who was raising his whole family doing that, and so I went to a vocational school for X-ray, and when I graduated, they offered me a job for minimum wage working graveyard shift, and I was like, no way, I just paid all this money for school, and there's no way I can even move out with this money, working minimum wage. And then a buddy of mine called me, and he's like, you know what, forget that, just come down here to Irvine. Everybody's making $10,000 a month, selling mortgages, and it was like a big mortgage boom back then. This was like, God, in the late 90s. They were selling 125% CLTV, combined loan to value, second mortgages. So they would loan you 25% above and beyond the value of your house at the time, because the values are going up so fast.
Yeah.
So, we were selling these like hotcakes. And so I was like, all right, forget this. I'm going to go and sell mortgages. And we were killing it, like a bunch of 20-year-old kids. The parking lot looked like a European dealership, It was insane, So that's how that started. And we did that for many years. But then mortgage industry is rough, because it's like it's feast or famine.
Yeah, the ups and downs.
Me being young, thought this was going to last forever, So next thing you know, we hit, we hit famine, and all of a sudden, like, I'm broke, And I've seen it over the last 20 some odd years. It's like it's feast or famine. Right now, it's it's been good for the last, I think, couple of years, and I think the rates are going up, so it's
starting to
slow
go
down right
up.
now.
Yep.
Yeah, now these guys are starting to. All right, what else can I do?
Yeah.
But back then we had doctors, lawyers, jumping into the mortgage industry because they were making more money doing that. They literally left their professions to go sell loans.
Wow.
And then next thing you know, when it's famine, they just, they went back to doing what they were doing. So Yeah, that's how that started. And then, so I met my wife in the mortgage industry.
Oh, that's cool.
I was like a mortgage team manager, running a bunch of loan officers, and she was a processing manager. She processed all the loans. Well, when everything crashed in, was it 2000? That mortgage crisis, was it 2008? Yeah.
Around there.
I mean, could you imagine? Like, all of our income was coming from that one source.
Yeah.
One industry, and all of a sudden we just went to
Gone.
zero.
Yeah.
To zero, and we had kids, and like it was a nightmare. So, whatever money we had scrounged together, and we built like a marketing company, and so we did that for a while. We were doing, loan modifications.
Yeah.
There's a bad rap, when it comes to that, because there was a lot of people doing, just stealing people's money and not doing anything with it back then, taking advantage of people, But we had a good system. We were helping people, to modify and adjust their mortgages and stuff, and it was going well. But then the state didn't like it because, the bad seeds just, destroyed.
Ruined everything.
Yeah, ruined everything,
Yeah.
So next thing you know, state shuts us all down. So we're like, all right, what do we do? Now, all of a sudden, that's around the time when gold started taking off. Gold was like notoriously, $600 troy ounce for like years. And then all of a sudden it started jumping up. I think it got as high as almost $2,000.
I think it was $2,000.
$2,000, right?
My dad was buying gold back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was close to $2,000.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so we rode that wave, and I just literally I was down to like $5,000. That's all I had left to my name, and I opened up I did a little Google Places listing to our office location where we were selling loans and stuff, and we said, hey, I'm buying gold, and people just started showing up. So I bought $5,000 worth of gold, went to LA, melted it, and sold the gold bar, made $8,000, and we just kept doing that. And next thing you know, I have 12 stores in like 2 different states.
That's cool.
Going. So that went great until everything crashed there. So I was like, God, I'm sick and tired of riding these waves, because I felt like mortgages was like riding these tidal waves, and the gold was like a rush too, And I'm like, I need to get into something more stable. On top of that, I was doing around that time I started a auto title loan business.
Okay.
So it's basically like if you have a pink slip to your car and it's worth like $10,000, we'll loan you like $7,000, but we hold on to the pink slip.
Oh, it's
deal,
like the collateral.
Yeah, so we sign our name onto the title.
Okay.
Yeah, and that went really well for 4, 5, 6 years, and that ended up allowing me to, when I sold that business finally, literally like months before COVID hit.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, so when COVID hit, I wasn't stressed. Like, I knew I had enough money to, I didn't have to worry about money,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that also allowed me to, build this business.
So this is new then, ish.
We're almost 2 years, yeah.
Holy
Yeah,
smokes.
so it is, it's fairly new.
See, I would have never even...
So you started it like
The
either
right time,
at
too.
COVID,
We literally
or
started in the middle of COVID. So when I went to go sign the lease in that location, that day, the Orange County shut down the first time.
oh,
And
wow.
so I didn't show up to the meeting to sign. And then I get a phone call. They're like, "Oh, you're not going to sign the lease?" I'm like, "Are you high? Like, I'm not signing a lease right now. I don't know if like everybody's going to die or what's going to." We didn't know anything at the time,
It was brand new.
Yeah. So a few months pass, and like we kind of got a handle on this. We're like, okay, everybody's overreacting over
Just
here.
need to go to the gym and be healthy.
Yeah,
For
lack of better
That'll
terms.
beat it.
Get some sun, get some fresh air, right? Yeah. So a couple months later, I called them back and we're like, okay, we're ready to sign. I want to get started. People are like, oh, aren't you worried? Like, everything is still kind of shut down and shaky, and I'm like, you know what? People are, the people that are wanting to be healthy, they're not afraid of it. They're going to show up. They're still running around. They're not going to be afraid to show up to the clinic like this, because we're not dealing with people that are sick. We're dealing with people that are relatively healthy that want to get healthier. And I think it actually helped our business opening during COVID because people were more mindful of health.
I was just going to say
their
that.
immune system and things like that.
Yeah. I was literally going to say that because COVID made me realize, like, I've been fairly into health for a very long time, since basically like 2010, I guess, when I got out of the Marine Corps, when I decided to get into health, which is ironic. But COVID made me realize like glutathione. I didn't really know what it did for your body. And after like researching because of COVID, but it was also more so like I just wanted to figure out like forget COVID. I wanted to just not get sick.
Yeah.
You know, like I got businesses, I got kids, I'm training. I was like, how do I just stay healthier besides your typical vitamin C?
Yeah.
And so it caused someone like me to start researching like peptides and all these different minerals and vitamins that are missing out of our diet because of the awesome food that we eat.
Right.
So it literally, even someone like me that was already kind of super aware of a lot of this made me kind of, you know, take that plunge. So I think you definitely could have started in a great time.
I think so. Yeah. I think it definitely helped us, give us that big push, you know, starting at that time. But, you know, this is not something that, you know, we just decided to get into like 2 years ago. This is something that's, you know, so I've been a TRT or testosterone replacement therapy patient for a decade now. So I started when I was 38. I'm 48 now. And when I was 38, before I turned 38, I already had 2 back surgeries. And I was heavily addicted to painkillers. Percocets were my thing, you know. I mean, you know, the pain was bad, obviously, but then even after the pain subsided, like, you know, like you're used to the pain meds, you know. I mean, obviously it's a story that you hear all the time, you know, and it could have gone really, really bad because I was literally buying it off the streets because the doctors would stop giving it to me, and I was lying to the doctors how I needed it, and all, you know, whole story, right? Yeah, it was really bad. And then, so after the surgery, the second surgery, my body wouldn't heal. It was taking 6 months later. I'm still in a walker, okay, around my house. I'm bedridden, and I'm like, what is going on? So, you know, I went to go get my testosterone levels checked, and the doctor's like, you have the testosterone levels of a female, you know. So I didn't know that painkillers suppress testosterone production. On top of the fact that I had gained a ton of weight, I wore size 40 pants. I was on cholesterol medication, I was on high blood pressure meds, and I was a pre-diabetic. So I was in really bad shape. So at that point I was like, okay, so I'm laying in bed, you know, with this walker, can't go anywhere. And I'm like, okay, I got to do something about this. Because at that point I felt like I hit rock bottom. I am completely helpless. I can't even drive anywhere. I can't, you know, walk anywhere. I can't take my kids to amusement park, you know. I can't throw the ball with them in the front yard, you know. I can't do any of that stuff, you know. And I hadn't been able to for a couple of years because I've been dealing with this back problem, you know. And so I started putting a game plan together. I'm like, okay. I started, you know, researching and learning about nutrition, exercise, how to do things properly. And there's so much crap on the internet, you know. And so a lot of it was just trial and error for the first few years, you know, just like, let's try this diet, let's try this diet, let's try this diet. Okay, that's not working, you know, until you start finding things that work for you and work for other people, and you're finally getting the real information, right? But the testosterone replacement therapy, I started on that right away, and literally it was like night and day. And yeah, I mean, it saved my life because I was able to, it gave me the energy. First of all, it helped me heal the back surgery, you know, it accelerated the healing process of the back surgery. It gave me the energy to go back to the gym. It, you know, my mood was better. My outlook on life was better. My emotional response to my children and my wife was 180 degrees different. Before that, I was like completely introverted. I was like, on my birthdays, you know, my wife would invite people over, and I'd be irritated that there's people around, you know. I'm like, oh, I got to go to this function, you know. I used to hate it. I used to hate being around people, you know, because I didn't feel good. You know, why would you want to be around people when you don't feel good?
Yeah.
Right? And then that flipped completely, where it's like, I love meeting new people. You know, I want to know everything about them. You know? And my responses to my children were just so much more positive, you know. Just outlook on life was positive. I used to see everything negative in every person, you know. Oh, this guy's an asshole because this, you know, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Now it's like I don't see that. I'm like, oh, I just see the positives in people, you know. I'm like, this is awesome. Sure, everybody's got their, you know, issues, you know, but I mean, who doesn't, right? So yeah, it was a life-changing situation for me, this whole therapy, you know. And 10 years later, I'm healthier than ever. I'm healthier than I've ever been in my life, you know. And
yeah, for people that can't see you, he said he's 48 and he's freaking more jacked than I've ever been in my life. So that tells you that right there.
You know, yeah, it's just, you know, I guess it helped me be consistent. Like you know, I think we talked about earlier. I enjoyed going to the gym. Before that, it was just a drag. And then so I would show up for a day or two. Like, who wants to do something they don't like doing? It was like, I would show up for a couple of days, disappear for a couple of weeks, show up for another couple of days. And but now it's like brushing my teeth. If I don't go to the gym, I just feel horrible all day.
Yeah.
So
that's cool that it did that. I mean, we're for people that don't know, like TRT or testosterone replacement therapies. It's correct me if I'm wrong, because obviously I'm not a doctor, but in my opinion, from like the research and stuff I've done, it's something that's been used for a very long time, but it's always been something that's been kind of like hidden, or like we said the term before we started recording, like taboo, or there's just been a perception about it that's like, oh, you're taking steroids. Well, no, like if you don't have testosterone in your body as a male, it's the hormone that literally makes us males and drives our entire bodily functions. Like, people don't realize hormones control more than just like rage and testosterone, or the opposite, estrogen. It does so much more. And so I think TRT is something that's been used more recently as like an actual like recovery tool.
Right.
Like compared to like several years ago.
Right. It's therapy, Yeah. And it's lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
That's what happened. You need more TRT.
yeah, I guess so.
I think to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
It's really it's cool to see the fact that you've been able to pivot. And we use that word a ton, but the fact that you were able to pivot when you felt like one door closed, you either went through another door or you forced that door open by saying like, no, I have to go do something else. Like, where does that drive come from? Because not a lot of it's easy to be like, man, my business is shut down. There's a mortgage crisis. Like, I can't do anything else. I'm going to go work at McDonald's. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
But the fact that you knew enough in yourself to be like, I am not an employee. I'm an entrepreneur. I want to go do something else. Like, where does that mentality come from? Like, how are you driven just to go do that?
Gosh, my parents were self-employed. So I think that had a lot to do with it. I'm watching them, literally they owned a machine shop right down the street, across the street, and I used to work there as a machinist, working with, lathes and drill presses and, milling machines, things like that, all manual stuff back in no CNCs, So watching them, hire employees, managing employees, putting them to work and all of that, I think that just it came more natural. Seeing that, I think that definitely helped out, because I saw that, that they were able to do it. But yeah, it's not, and I was kind of forced into the situation, because I'm a shitty employee. At this point I'm ruined. You know what I mean? I don't think I could do it anymore. So I don't really have an option. Even if I wanted to. But I think it's just there's certain people that can do it. And I don't want to say that certain people can't do it, but you need to have a high stress tolerance, and that's the main thing. I've talked to other people over the years where they're like, oh, I want to be in your position. I want to start my own business. And then I would help them try to start it. And then before they even get started, they quit because they're like, when they realize the amount of stress and more importantly, uncertainty.
Yeah.
I mean, certainty or what is that when you get a paycheck every week?
The comfortability, like
the comfort of knowing that you're gonna get that paycheck is very expensive. It's expensive. Think about it. Security.
The security.
Financial security is very expensive. Have a job. Now you have financial security. And that is because the boss is making most of the money. And so, but he's also taking a huge risk on top of that. And so they can't get over that. It's very difficult for them. It scares the crap out of them to, have to think about, oh my God, how am I going to get paid tomorrow or the next day? And I think it takes a huge belief in yourself that knowing that you can do this, And obviously in the beginning I started off like, well, I don't have a choice. Let's do it. I have a family. I got to get this going no matter what. I can't have it fail. And, over the years it's become easier because I think you start believing in yourself and you're like, you know what, I can do this, definitely, but for me though, big thing for me, is my wife. I attribute a lot of this to my wife because, before that, like the way my upbringing was, it was, pretty dark, like to the point where like I don't remember a lot of things about my youth, and so there wasn't a whole lot of encouragement and push to where like you can do this type of there's a lot of negative reinforcement in my life. So when I was 20, I thought, I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do with my life? Like I'm a loser. Then I met my wife, and she like literally had more faith in me than she saw the potential, and it's surprising how huge that is. It's like when somebody's there actually pushing and backing you, I was like, oh yeah, I can do anything, and so I was able to start opening these businesses, and one after another, and it was working.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so
that's awesome. Yeah. That's one of those the underdog story, but more so in the fact of like we've had some people with awful childhoods on the show, and for me it's always an interesting thing for me to listen to, because I had probably one of the most like amazing childhoods you could ever have, right? Like awesome. My parents were amazing. Everything they did, like it was just that we had an awesome childhood, right? Like the way they provided. But I think for me, what set me up for future success and like who I am as like a man now is like, even though we had this awesome childhood, I still remember them and can vividly picture how hard they were hustling and working and grinding to give us that amazing childhood.
Right.
And it was something that I'll never forget. Like it's actually like one of my dad's greatest qualities is his work ethic and his drive.
Yeah.
But it's also something I learned, and I told myself when I had a family and kids, I'm not going to do some of those things he did that got him to where he is, only because I want to be present for my kids. Not that he didn't,
right?
Because again, I had an amazing childhood. I just have a different I guess perspective on what I want, especially when my children are young. Like I want to be the most present father I can.
Right.
And so there's something that's going to suffer from that, right? And it's going to be my business. Pre-kids, I would go hard 24/7, 7 days a week. Post, I'm like, I still need to go hard, because I need to provide for my family. But I also want my kids to vividly remember how present I am as a father.
Yeah.
And it's a choice, because of course there's things I could be doing that make us more money. And whether it's within my business or an additional revenue stream, but you always take pieces of things that you want to formulate your own style, for lack of better terms.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're always trying to provide a better life for our kids than we've had, and so the balance, and that's what I talk about a lot too, is balance, in life. Just like your hormones need to be balanced, everything in the world needs to be balanced. Everything in the universe needs to be in perfect balance, right? Like we're too close to the sun, we burn up. We're too far, we freeze to death, right? We need to balance our time, and that's what I did wrong in my 30s. Is I went all out with a family, neglected them completely, and I just went all out, neglected my health. And that's what I saw my parents do, and it was like, doesn't matter. I just need to put food on the table, make money, create financial security, and I turned into a huge mess, like I was, obese, all kinds of health problems, And so now, same thing. I don't work as hard. I mean, I work hard. Okay, I work hard.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's different work.
Yeah. I allocate the time better, so like I make sure I allocate time for my kids and my wife, and I go to my kids' football games. I help coach it. I go to his water polo games. My daughter's like music, choir performances and things like that, so to make sure I'm present for them so that I can be there, because that's the time you're never going to get back.
Yeah.
And it's difficult, but it's doable. People are like, I don't have time to exercise. No, I'm like, it's just not a priority for you.
Yeah.
Because trust me, like being self-employed with 3 kids, right, running a business, like that's not having time. And I still find the time. I just get up earlier.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, you just get up earlier.
You just make the time. You can't tell me that you can't find an hour out of the day to do that. It's just you don't want to. And that's okay too, until it becomes a priority for you. That's okay. But don't tell me you don't have time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The time thing bugs me, because it's we've talked about this too, but it's like like you can always make time. There's going to be days where you can't.
Yeah, of course.
Understood. But as the concept of it, you can always make time. Like, I did not want to get up at 5 a.m. this morning to go to the gym. Like, I didn't want to, but I made the choice to, and it was because I made that choice. Like, I could easily slept in and been like, oh, I didn't have time today.
Yeah.
Well, you did,
You did.
but you didn't.
Yeah.
I want to get back to, because I really want people to know what you do, and getting like more real into it.
Sure.
We talked about it, but I think it's something that's so important. And for me, like, I'll just use myself as an example. I am the epitome of what we talked about before we were recording, but for people listening, you know, as a man, you know, like that was, you know, a Marine, own my own business. Like, I've been known to not be someone like that will take crap from other people. I'm not a bully, but like, I sure as heck will never shy away from any physical altercation. Like, it's sometimes a flaw of mine, but you know, it's the whole like macho manly man thing.
Yeah.
And a couple years back, I was going through stuff that I noticed in my body that was just like not right. It was messed up. Like you said, everything is balanced, right? I knew something in my body was not balanced, whether it was my testosterone or I don't know, man. Like, I'm a genuine believer that the amount of crap that they gave us while we were in the Marine Corps is part of the root causes of all the health issues I suffer from now. You said high cholesterol, the high blood pressure. They've tried to put me on all that crap, and I've always refused it, and I've still refused it. Actually, when I got my blood pressure done this morning at your office, I think I was 133/83, which is great for me.
Nice.
For years, I cruised around like 160 over like 90 to 100. And like hypertension.
Yeah.
And they could never figure it out because the VA sucks, and all they want to do is just be like, oh, here's more pills. And you're like, bro, you're not figuring out what's wrong with me. Like, there's a reason my body's telling you this. And long story short, I started suffering like from so many different things but I just knew my body wasn't producing. I knew my testosterone levels weren't right. I knew, I don't know, whether it was like my gut enzyme, something was off in my body. And, you know, I started looking into TRT, and I was just like, there's no way I'm too young. Like, there's no way in this planet I'm getting testosterone replacement at my age. There's no way I'm doing this. There's no way I'm doing that. I'm not trying to be a jacked athlete. I just, you know, all the justifications or all the stereotypes that you think of it.
Right.
And that's what led me to meet you. So, you know, like, if you're out there and you're like listening, like, it's, especially as like a guy, I'm not speaking to women, I'm speaking, well, women too, but especially as a guy, it's hard to talk about when you're not quote unquote man enough. And it was one of those conversations I had to have with my wife and just with myself ultimately, and recognize that something was not right, but that doesn't make me less of like a man. In reality, I feel like it made me more of a man because I knew something wasn't right within my own body, and I needed to get help for whatever it is. And, you know, which I'm thankful for, because in the last 8 weeks, like, it has radically changed my health. Because from the outside looking in, everyone thinks I'm healthy. You know, I'm decently in shape. I eat well. I'm very active. They see me running my businesses. They see me all over the place, being an active dad, but they didn't see what it would do to me. You know, by the time my kids are down, I'm dead. I'm a zombie. I had nothing left to give because I expended it all. And I'm saying all that because I think there's just this big stigma about being able to be real enough to understand, like, hey man, I had low testosterone, like, and that's okay. I've never done steroids. I've never done any of that stuff. So people that think it's only because you do that stuff, you're freaking wrong. But it's just a thing where I'm like, dude, as a man, I have no testosterone. What in the hell is wrong with me? Like, I'm not a man anymore. And getting on this program, meeting you, understanding what it actually does. Like, it doesn't just control your physique, you know, it controls everything. I'm sleeping better now than I have since I got out of the Marine Corps. I'm more active than I've been in years. I'm pushing my body a little harder than I did even just a year ago. I'm doing all these things and I'm feeling great. Like, my energy is lasting longer. I've always been in like a pretty good mood. That's not one thing that I personally suffered with. But I dealt with like how it would like just physically drain me, you know, putting that smile on, talking to people every day. Like, it was physically and mentally draining. And now, you know, here we are sitting in a podcast chatting. I've been talking all day. Manny was with me. Like we've literally been all over today. My day started at 5. I went to bed at like 12:30. Like before TRT, I would be zombied out right now. It's like what, 4 o'clock? Like I would literally be like ready for a nap. I'm like ready to go right now. Like it's, you know, and I'm not saying like you're going to take this and freaking become Superman. Cause I mean, I still get tired, but it's just a drastically different, feeling that I've had. And I've only been doing it for 8 or 9 weeks. So all that long-winded answer to say like is like this is something that genuinely has helped me. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I'm not trying to like discredit anything, but it's like I can only speak to my experience.
Right.
And again, as like a man, like a lot of people don't have the balls to say something about it, you know, because it's I don't know. And that's why I was excited that you agreed to come on to it, because I'm thinking like, you know, there's so many guys that probably are listening right now. I can think of a lot that I know listen to it that they might be dealing with this stuff, but they're too macho to say something. So if you're listening, like grow a pair and do something about it, you know, like, yeah. But yeah, that was a lot.
No, it's all, yeah, I get it. And I hear this a lot from our patients, you know, that come in initially, you know, they have these symptoms. And, you know, the thing is it's not just from, you know, people think steroids, right? Steroid abuse. Yeah, steroid abuse at a young age can cause lower production of testosterone later on or afterwards, right? But I have more and more patients in their 20s coming in now than I ever thought was going to happen. We were focusing on patients in their 40s. And then next thing you know, we're diagnosing and treating patients in their 30s. And then now I have a ton of kids in their 20s coming in. And what's happening is this younger generation is actually producing less and less testosterone than the older generation. So I think there was a article I just read, a study that was done. Average 20-year-old has the same testosterone levels as a average 40-year-old right now.
It's insane.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's something in our food, water, air, whatever it is, you know, I don't exactly know, but I have to say it has to do with the food and the lifestyle, you know, of these younger kids, and they're producing less and less. And it's sad to see. It's like they've never actually, some kids are like, oh yeah, I've never had a sex drive. And he's 20 years old, just came out of puberty, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I never had a sex drive. I'm like, do you like women? He's like, yeah, I like women, but I don't really like, you know, it's not worth the effort to go, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Like, that's sad. And so some of the other symptoms, you know, that you haven't experienced are massive depression, anxiety. I have a patient, or I have a patient. I can't, you know, obviously I can't say his name. I'm trying to make sure I'm
Editing it.
staying compliant here. So I have a couple of patients that were, you know, massive anxiety and depression to the point where he was having thoughts of suicide. And we put him on the therapy, and it was like night and day with him. You know, he came in shaking. I mean, he literally passed out and broke out in cold sweat when we took a little bit of blood from him. He was so scared and timid of everything.
Dang.
But he knew and read that this is something that he needed to do. And he had tried everything else, went to all of his traditional doctors and everything, you know. And when we tested his levels, they were super low. And he was just naturally like that. You know, we don't know what caused it, but he was low. We diagnosed him, we balanced him out, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, a few months later, he's coming in with his brand new girlfriend. He's feeling great, like $1 million, you know? And then it came to a point where, you know, he was running into some financial situations. He's like, I can't do this therapy anymore. And so he cut it off for like 3 weeks, and literally he had completely degraded right out the bat.
Dang.
He wasn't sleeping all night. He was miserable again. He came right back, and he's like, look, I can't afford this, but I need it, you know? And I'm like, so he's one of our, I guess, sponsored, you know, patients that we take care of, because I'm like, if anybody needs this therapy, it's you. So pay whatever you can. Like, I need to take care of you, because I can't see you the way you were when you first walked in this door anymore. So we have some patients like that we take care of, because we're like, oh my God, this is insane.
Yeah.
You know, like it was like night and day with him, you know?
It's a wild thing, man. The body's crazy.
Yeah, so real quick, the other thing is concussions can affect the production of testosterone. we have ex-military, we have ex-football players, ex-MMA fighters, policemen, fire, all those guys. They're coming in because they're healthy looking guys. They have low T. Something caused them through concussion and obviously lack of sleep. So firemen, they have erratic sleeping schedules, right? So a lot of these guys are coming in and they're testing super low. So and especially for police officers, right? Like we work, we have a lot of OC sheriff, LA County sheriff, Santa Ana PD, police officers all around here that are patients, and it's like I had one officer tell me, like, he would go on shift and he would be looking for a place to park his car to take a nap. I was like, holy crap, like, you got to be sharp. It's life or death for these guys. And so we put him on the therapy, and it's like he's sharp, and he's not tired anymore, and everything's going great. He's losing weight, and it was like a night and day difference for them.
And I think that's what's important for people to, like, know is, like you said, you have those patients that you're sponsoring. Traditional medicine would never, I shouldn't say would never, but highly unlikely use a therapy like this to help correct things.
Right.
Whether you're male or female, like they wouldn't do it.
Right.
And it leads me to think, why? And my answer is, look at the last 2 years, and I'll just leave it at that. But it's a thing where I think it's, and now that I'm a believer of it, because I was really skeptical. I don't know if you remember meeting me. You meet a lot of people, but like I was really skeptical. I didn't want to do it. Too young, too this, too that. Worried about the negative side effects that it could have on me. All these things, but man, the last 8 or 9 weeks, like, I feel so different. And to me, it's worth it now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why is it happening? 2, how do we make this something that is more common, which I think it's getting there, but like for guys to make it okay. Yeah. Like, you don't have to be like scared or embarrassed. Like, I mean, yeah, it sucks. And of course you should have like a little embarrassment like I did at least, but like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it happens. Like, fix it.
Yeah, guys in their 40s tend to be less embarrassed because they understand it's just, hey, they're getting older,
Yeah.
Yeah, so they come in and they tell everybody, hey, look, I'm on TRT, and like, it's a great thing,
Yeah.
I get it as we get younger, like in your 30s or 20s, it's like, what's wrong with me,
Yeah.
But they have to understand, like, it's almost normal now. Like, it's happening everywhere. It's almost like an epidemic, and I worry about the next generation. How low are they going to be? The new, our kids or our kids' kids,
Yeah.
Like, it's scary, But I'm glad there's a therapy, and hopefully there will be a fix for it, permanent fix for it in the future, But at this point, like, we look at it like a type 1 diabetic, Your brain is no longer communicating with your body to produce the insulin it needs to. So, type 1 diabetic has to inject insulin for the rest of their life because your body just, the pancreas just isn't making it anymore, And that's basically what's happening with low T. Your brain is no longer signaling your body to produce the testosterone that it needs to anymore. Your body's just not doing it. At that point, what do? You just top it off. You balance it out, Wish there was a way to fix that permanently, you know? And I have guys calling me all the time. They're like, what do you mean I have to come in every week? What do you mean I have to inject every week, I'm like, well, yeah, your body's not producing it. You mean you can't just fix me? I'm like, I would love to, we would love to do that, but it just doesn't work that way right now. Unfortunately, we don't have that technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think there's a big misconception about it, especially from an athletic standpoint. Like, there's been a lot of, specifically UFC fighters, that were, like we were talking about beforehand, abusing it. Right. And going over those levels as opposed to using it for therapy. They were using it to gain an advantage, and I think a lot of people, there's just a lack of education. Yeah. Right. Not to say names.
Of course not. You didn't say anything.
But there's also a lack of education. I think people hear testosterone and they're like, oh, steroids. And I don't think it's almost like people don't want to be educated.
Right.
They're just like, nope, this is what I know, this is what I believe, that's it. They're not open to the idea that technology has advanced. They found a healthier and safer way of doing this. And like you said, yeah, there's a lot of I personally believe, just from research that I've done, that our food is crap. A lot of the stuff that they offer at a normal grocery store is just filled with crap. I don't even know all the names, but like my wife is awesome at like shopping organic and stuff like that. I still cheat a little bit, but yeah, I think I think that has a lot to do with it. People aren't educated. So like, what would you hope to see in the future? Like, if it was, not to say you have all the power, all the control, but from someone being in that field, like, what would you either suggest or like recommend to people? Like, hey, you guys should probably take a look at this, whether it's like eating right or working out or whatever.
Well, obviously, diet is number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, diet is number one. I mean, you are what you eat, right? Like, it's the food that you put in your system, is going to make you feel better or worse. Even us, even athletes or people that work out all the time or eat clean. Like, when we eat a cheat meal, like, I feel horrible. We want it to satisfy our mental need, but physically we don't need it, and I feel miserable afterwards. And so, I mean, diet is number one, obviously. And then I would say sleep. Sleep is so crucial. People wear this badge of honor like, oh, I only sleep 4 hours a day because I hustle my butt off. And then I drink tons of caffeine every day, and their cortisol levels are through the roof. Their thyroids are burnt out. And then that throws off your hormones, it suppresses your testosterone. All these things can happen, and are happening, when you're running your body to the ground. And so I would say sleep, diet and sleep are the most important things to maintain that, to prevent these things from happening, imbalances,
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I did not sleep for a very long period of my life, and now look at me, like
Right,
suffering from all
and you
that
were
stuff.
still good. Like, well, at least I didn't notice.
I had to force myself to be good. There's like a difference of forcing your body
Yeah.
to do the things that
Yeah.
versus, like we said before we record, like I, for the first time in my life, hated exercising,
Yeah.
and I love exercising. Like I've been playing hockey, and like everything I do, I've been active my entire life, and I hated it. I did it as a chore, as a necessity to just not, for lack of better terms, if I'm being honest, get fat.
Hey.
Like you're just a big dude. You're just a big dude. I'm not a big dude. So when I gain weight, I get fat.
Yeah.
But it turned into that, and now I'm like, yes, like I want to go to the gym. Like I wanted to get up at 5 and go train with Turna because I was like, I need him to kick my butt. Like I need it. I don't want to be able to take my shirt off later. Like it's just a different mentality. Forced versus natural is essentially the best way to look at that.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback off a question he did, like for your clinic and what you do. What's like your obviously your goal is obviously to show like what this can do for people, but you guys do a lot more than just the hormones. And again, you made me a believer in doing different things. Like let's speak a little bit to that, like whether you want to touch on like the vitamins and stuff like that, but in conjunction with peptides and what they are, because I think a lot of people don't even know what the heck it is and what it can do for you. Like someone might be out there in a position like I was when I met you,
Right.
and dude, I'm like I said, I'm a walking testament to it right now.
Yeah.
And I will be like the best testament because I'm the type of person where if it works for me, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work for me, I'm telling you. But what is the overall goal for the clinic and everything that you're doing? I mean, hormones, yes, but let's speak to a little bit of the other stuff so people know if they need help, they can see you for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we want everybody to be optimized in every way, I always tell our patients, we don't take sick patients and make them feel okay. We take patients that are feeling okay and make them feel great. And so we deal with people that just want to feel younger and healthier. And there's a lot of different things that are natural, we don't want to deal with, I hate substances, chemicals, drugs, So like testosterone, for example, is natural. It's something that your body already knows, it recognizes, it's already in the system. We're just elevating the levels a little bit to a therapeutic dose. We're not taking you to anabolic levels, We're bringing you to a therapeutic dose that you can have in your system for decades, for the rest of your life. But then there are other injections like NAD injections. There's L-carnitine injections. There's glutathione. Glutathione is a master antioxidant for the body. You eat a lot of fish. You have, high levels of mercury. You drink alcohol a lot. I mean, it helps detoxify the body. It's the best thing there is. Cleans out the liver. NAD is great for, it kicks up the mitochondria in all the cells, so that for patients that are suffering from chronic fatigue, they have nerve connectivity issues. For my mom, for example, she when she gets up in the morning, she's been a diabetic for 30 years, so she's having some nerve issues and she can't make a fist in the morning. It takes her a while to get everything loose and going again, and she comes in twice for these NAD injections, and it kicks up everything. She can get up in the morning and has full control of her hands. She has energy throughout the day. And granted, she's 71 years old, and better mood. It does so much more, and it also promotes glutathione production naturally in the body. L-carnitine is great for fat mobilization. It helps utilize the fat for energy. So just, I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible, without going into like specifics. But, those are some of the injections we have on top of the peptides. Now, I'm really excited about peptides because of the fact that so you can look at testosterone and hormones like a broadsword, okay, like an army, okay? It goes in there and it goes and does a bunch of stuff, right? It affects the whole body, okay? Peptides are more surgical, sending a, what do you call it, the advanced team, strike force,
SEAL?
A surgical, SEAL
Like Navy
team
SEAL.
in, right, yeah. They go in there with a purpose to do a specific thing, and that's what peptides do. They literally turn on and off specific switches in your body that you want to manipulate, and and the thing is, these peptides are already in your body, once again, natural, they're natural. So we're just elevating those levels for it to do more of what it already does. And that's what I love about it. There's peptides that can help you lose weight. There's peptides that can help your body heal quicker. Peptides that help you reduce inflammation. There's even some peptides that can help you put on muscle really fast, very safely. I mean, there's tons of peptides, and they're constantly researching new peptides right now. But I believe, right now, obviously, back in the days, I used to like to box and kickbox and, with guys and stuff. After I broke my back, my doctor told me, I could never throw a kick or a knee ever again, So I tried, and it doesn't feel good, So that's when I went into bodybuilding, and when I got into that field sport, I was like, oh my God, everybody is actually so unhealthy. They look super healthy, but they're actually so unhealthy, and especially when we run all these labs, I can see what the insides look like, So right now it's actually kind of exciting and I feel like I'm helping push this too. There's a huge transition of coaches that are not just, hard dieting their athletes and making them do a ton of cardio and starving them. They're starting to actually put their health first. So they're having them run labs, making sure that they're healthy, and then running diet protocols and making sure their hormones are balanced and things like that. And a lot of these coaches are sending their athletes to us to run and to monitor their health as they're getting ready for competition and things like that. So we're super excited about that. But what we've been able to see was that dang it, I lost my I think I was going too deep. That's the second time I've done that.
No, but it's the peptides.
Oh yeah, peptides,
using them and the athletes.
Sorry. So that's what I was saying.
There you go.
So peptides and bodybuilding, a lot of these top coaches in the country think that peptides are going to be the future of bodybuilding, which is going to make it a much safer sport without having to run all types of crazy compounds that negatively affect the body to get on stage, So
because there's been a bunch of guys that have passed away recently.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's like
from
one
that
a week.
world.
Yeah, it's like one a week, and I see it all. You know, I'm seeing it. You know, and most of the time it's always heart conditions. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. Like my coach has had me do a calcium score for my heart. You know, all of his athletes. You know, anybody over 40, he has you do a calcium score, and if that number is high, obviously, you know, then you got to stop what you're doing, come out of competition prep, and you know, you're done. Like, you have plaque in your heart. You know, like the last thing you need to do is die on stage, because, you know, by the time you get on stage, you're, you know, hard dieting, your calories are reduced, you're doing tons of cardio, and then you're dehydrating, more importantly, you know, and it could be dangerous. You know, a lot of these athletes are coaches having their clients or athletes dehydrate via like Lasix and heavy, you know, diuretics, you know, so it could be dangerous on stage, you know.
That's probably why I felt like I was dying when I cut weight. I dehydrated myself for 2 full days.
Yeah, see, so
with exercise. That's
another thing, you know. I think, and I see that in the MMA world, right? So I see how bodybuilding does it. I've seen how the MMA world does it, and I feel like there's a healthier way to do it. You know, there definitely is a healthier way to cut weight by proper, you know, diet protocols.
Yeah.
Because I felt like a lot of fighters are like, oh, I'm only 20 pounds, I'm only 15 pounds overweight, I'll drop that in the last week. I'm like, yeah, you could. It's going to be super painful. Also, it's super unhealthy for you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I did, and I genuinely felt like I was dying. I've never felt like that. So I was like, what in the heck is happening?
Yeah.
But I'm just super thankful that you share this stuff, and I think, again, like, from my own perspective, it's like we need more of it. Like, I'm that's why I was like really glad that you just like wanted to come on and share this. It's obviously like it's newer unless you've been in it and researching it, right. But people need to understand what it is, and understand like the proper education behind it, and not just like the stereotypes and the misconceptions about everything. Like like I said, I'm a believer of it now. I've been doing it with you for almost 2 months, I guess a little over 2 months, and I'm constantly researching peptides now. And it's crazy, because it's one of those things where it's like, well, man, if I'm dealing with all these injuries all the time, like, how do I recover, but doing it like in a way that my body's already doing it, but just like you kind of said, like elevating it, boosting those certain things. I wish, and my hope is that people like you can continue to educate, like really educate people on what they can. Just give people information, and then, you know, obviously let them make their own mind up, but it's like giving proper information versus misguided information.
Right.
And that's what I felt like I gained from you know, getting to know you and going into your business, was like, you gave me the information, and you basically were like, look, man, it's your choice. Like, here's the information. This is what you're telling me, how you feel. Like, do you want to feel like that? My answer was, hell no, I don't want to feel like that anymore.
Yeah.
So, again, like, I just think it's needed. It's needed more of, you know, if we took this approach like you're talking about, that's becoming more sought after, instead of forcing high school athletes that, you know, you're like the kids you're coaching football with, and shoving them with over-the-counter supplementations that you don't know what's in them and what fillers are in there, and, you know, like, causing these guys to just like be unhealthy but look healthy. Like, that's the stem of the problem. Good old-fashioned westernization medicine, right? Like, let's sedate the issue but not fix the problem.
Right.
And so when I found what you're doing, I thought it was really cool and interesting, and I'm glad that we're able to have a platform where we can share it. Just because, like I said, I think it's needed, and I'll be the first to admit it. Like, I'm a client. I'm a member. What do you call it? Am I a member? Is that what it's called? Member, patient, client, member, subscriber, believer.
You're a patient, yeah.
But I just want to say thank you. I know you're busy. Thanks for taking the time out to come share this stuff. We always ask people, do you have any questions?
No.
We always ask people like where they can find you, like if they wanted to reach out on Instagram or a website, because the goal is, you know, maybe someone listening will be a little encouraged by it. You know, like I had a guy in the gym on Friday, I was telling him about the L-carnitine stuff because he was chugging it like in a liquid. I was like, hey, did you know there's a place down the street where you can actually like get that, like, so you're not just chugging it and you're not like wasting most of it. And they're like, wait, what? They'll give you that? And I'm like, yeah. And then I gave him I think I showed him or shared the Instagram page.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. That's, our Instagram's probably the most updated. We have all the product information in there, all the service information. It's the most up-to-date information, because it's easy to post all that stuff, So you kind of get to see, like, what's going on there, what we're offering, and things like that, Yeah, the website's more static. I definitely need to update that, so might be talking to you in a few minutes about
Nice.
that.
That's so funny.
But Instagram's probably the best way. We actually, most of our patients come from Instagram.
Okay.
And because we're sharing information there constantly.
Which is funny you said that because every time I pull into the parking lot, I'm always early for my appointment. So I literally will go on the Instagram and be like, which shot should I get today? And I'll research
like
them
a
again.
candy store,
And I'm
right?
like, wait, I did this one last week. Like, I did it this morning. So I was like,
cool, though.
So, but again, thank you. We'll make sure we tag everything. But what is the Instagram?
Oh, it's Everwell MD.
Okay.
Yeah, just at Everwell MD.
Awesome. And then we'll put it in like the bio and all that. But there's a lot of we've found and actually know of a lot of people that like just listen. They don't watch,
Right.
So we always like to say it out loud so people can find it. But
Gotcha. Well, just one quick thing though, just before we end.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of clinics out there, There's even, you can mail order this stuff, The issue is that the lab work is really crucial to optimizing, I've seen so many places that just do initial labs, send you the stuff, and then off you go, And it's like they don't even check up on what your labs are supposed to look, what it looks like, making adjustments and things like that. We run lab work every 7 weeks initially to get our patients dialed in, and then after that, we don't just leave them hanging. We still run their labs every 90 days. So we're monitoring your health and wellness year-round because things can change. Your level of activity can change, And so we've been able to actually spot people that have run into issues. All of a sudden, their cholesterol spiked, their liver enzymes spiked. Their liver was in bad shape all of a sudden. Their glucose spiked, and they became full-blown diabetics for whatever reason, And we've been able to catch these, call them, and tell them, hey, you need to go see your primary care physician because something is off, something is severely wrong, and being able to stop them from having more serious problems early on. Kind of like early detection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been able to.
I'm actually glad you just said that because
really cool.
that was actually the selling point for my wife.
Yeah.
When I told her, because I have a lot of like family health history.
Yeah.
And issues and stuff that I'm having to be careful of, but I told her that you do the labs every 7 weeks, and she's like, oh, okay, then, do they check this? Do they check that? I'm like, yeah, they do. That's a full blood panel, blah, blah, blah. And that's literally the reason why she was like, let's do it. Like, because I obviously asked her like how she felt about it and stuff like that. And she's like, ultimately it's your body, do whatever you want. But I'm glad you just brought that up because that was a selling point for her and for me. Cause I think I asked you so many different questions and I was like, well, I'm just not, I don't know. So the blood work is huge, and I just got mine back last week, and I was sharing the results before, but it confirmed how I feel. Yeah. So, you guys got anything else?
No, I'm good. No. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Opening up, of course. All right, guys, and just remember that everything was impossible until someone did it.
All right.